York County is so much more than just a stop for gas on I-80. 17 County is filled with unique individuals with unique stories just waiting to be told. Welcome to the 17 County Podcast with your host, Emily Perry.
This is 17 County Podcast. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and listen. This helps our podcast grow, and we thank you for your continued support. We would also like to take the time to thank our York County Development Corporation members, AgriProducts, Cornerstone Bank, Nebraska Public Power District, and Central Valley Ag. Without these great members, we wouldn't be able to focus on the growth and development of York County here at the YCDC. So thank you. Let's get to the podcast. Today, once again, we have our fearless leader, Lisa Hurley, back in for a podcast. And Lisa Hurley is the executive director for York County Development Corporation. So we're just going to kind of give an overview of what's been going on, what's coming up.
Hello, everyone, from wherever you're listening from. I'm very excited to do an update. YCDC here in York County, Nebraska has been working on business projects, housing projects, childcare succession and startups, activities, events. I mean,
you name it.
Some travel mixed in there. We've been busy.
Yeah, so I guess to kick things off, I know that there was a pretty exciting announcement made not too long ago.
Yes. On August 15th, York City Council approved the Bosselman project for the pump and pantry. If you're on the south side of York by Starbucks, right off of the interstate, looking for something to eat, something to drink, there's lots of options. Well, Bosselman's is building a new facility. It's going to be their model facility, their phase 3 or whatever it is, on the east side of their property. So it will be set back farther than it is right now. Then they will demolish their existing facility and put up double the pumps. But what's really exciting is this has Quiznos in it. There will be a drive-through, so you can go through and order anything you want other than alcohol or tobacco products. So if you're driving through and you don't need to use the beautiful bathrooms I'm told they're going to be, you fill up with gas and then drive through and get yourself some soda.
That's awesome.
Yeah, or some chips or bottle of water or whatever you're craving that day.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, and just when we talk about by the interstate and some different projects that are going on, I feel like we need to touch on the trail project.
Absolutely. And Pump and Pantry, so the Bosselman's Corporation is actually going to build a sidewalk on the north side of their new building to connect to that trail. Because the city has done, over the last several years, a lot of work. They've updated redevelopment plans for the community, and that does include the 80-81 corridor, Interstate 80, Highway 81, which is a huge corridor here in the Midwest. And the trail project will connect the two areas of our community, because the city of York's one community. There are two distinct neighborhoods with the tower corridor, I think is what we're going to call it. But the last two comprehensive plans, plus several others, strategic planning processes like the downtown revitalization, Hometown America, local foods, local places, sessions that the city's done, sessions that other various entities have done, have identified the ability, walkability and bike friendly as being an issue throughout the entire community. Mm-hmm. And so the city of York went after a Department of Transportation federal grant, and for the RISE grant, and received it. That includes connecting, better connecting downtown with the interstate business district. And this will do that. What is awesome is it also includes a pedestrian overpass, which connects the east and the west sides of Highway 81 out there. which there's so much more to do to make that area walkable. The city's at this point, and it's going to have to continue going forward. So all of us in the community, in the county, we are all going to have to say, okay, for this area to successfully develop, we've put in PACE, which is an energy efficiency financing tool. We've got it in a redevelopment area. We're starting the process of walkability and connecting the community better, because we want to be a connected community. But there's so much more. Yeah. Just the start of the trail, it's not enough. So I would, from our standpoint, it impacts those that sometimes we don't always think about. There are people that don't have vehicles, and there's not a sidewalk out there. So if they're wanting one of the 700 plus jobs that are in that business district, they're walking or biking on the highway. Right. Or maybe a side road for a little bit of it, but it doesn't get you all the way out there. So there's that aspect. There's also the other side of tourism. I hear from a lot of business people traveling through that they would love to be able to go for a run or go for a walk when they're staying in the hotels. And the trail's going to make that so much easier to do.
Yeah. So I guess if we break it down from, like, let's say I'm a site selector for a big business, little business, whatever, why is walkability so important?
Because it comes to being able to attract and retain talent.
Yeah.
It shows that you're investing in the community and you care about your community. When you're not investing publicly in your community, into your amenities, that shows a lack of apathy. This comes to out of the book, Your City is Dying by Jeff Siegler, who we hope to see yet before the end of the year through NPPD, Nebraska Power Public Power District, for those of you who don't know who MPPD is. I had hoped to see on Friday, but it's been rescheduled. But yeah, if the public is not investing, a lot of times the private is not investing. And when a site selector or a business startup that is coming in and wants to pick a smaller community, when they're looking around, the overall appearance of your community, the ability to walk, is huge. I actually had someone tell me last week that they moved here decades ago, right after our original trail project came in. And he had no idea it was a controversial project. So trails can just be kind of controversial, and I encourage people to reach out to council members regarding their feelings on however it is. But it is very important for people that are disabled, people that want the exercise, people that don't have a vehicle, and today's younger workforce a lot of times wants to walk to work.
Yeah.
They want to live, work, and play within the same area without having to move your car every day.
Yeah.
So they may have a car, but they want to get their groceries or stop for a coffee or whatever they want to do without moving their vehicle every day.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's so many different pieces to it that, you have to think about it from every point of view.
And this is just the start. Just like Beaver Trail. Beaver Trail was just a start when the community put that in. Since there's been lights put in, I think they've been replaced. There's been benches put in. There's been a library walk put in. Over the years, private entities, service organizations, and the city and individuals have done many projects on that. But any type of project, it starts with that initial investment. And this was a big project, and we actually, back in 2017, do we even leave this in the comp plan? Because it's such a big dream. How are you ever going to pay for it? And, comp plans are, you live by them. You should be using them as a community. And it was decided back then to keep it in, and it kept coming up. So I'm proud that the city went after the grant. Absolutely excited that they received the grant.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to see where it leads, because there are projects that are watching this on how we are accepting change in the community.
Yeah. And I will also just add on to that, trails have become really popular. I think most of the communities that we look at would be thrilled, and some are even looking into putting trails into their community. So this is a big deal. This is forward thinking. This is innovative. Yeah.
Not to compare ourselves to neighboring states, but we were camping one weekend over in Iowa. We had a graduation for a friend out there, and we stayed at a lake a couple miles out of town. And there was a trail that went almost every which way that connected 3 or 4 different communities. So it's not just within the community. It's, go up to northern Nebraska. You got the Cowboy Trail that runs 120, 130 miles. I mean, that runs through some desolate places, but you see bikers on it, you see walkers on it. And it can really bring in some tourism. But at the core, it's going to help the people that live here.
Absolutely. I live about 10 minutes outside, and I have small kids, and I'm excited for it. Being able to come to town and have somewhere to walk it's going to be a good length. It's not going to be short. So I'm excited.
Total from the south side of town to the north side of town, and all this improvements around the school that are going to help with safety in crossing, for whether there is an ADA issue or just a school safety crossing issue. We're looking at 8 to 9 miles of investment and changes. So this is pretty exciting.
Absolutely. So this is a huge deal, obviously. But that's one little tiny piece of all the things that we're doing.
We're really not involved on this anymore, other than being able to talk about what the community is doing.
Yeah, absolutely, and how much it'll benefit the different people we work with.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, I'm promoting it. Trust me when I talk to businesses and potential talent.
Yeah,
coming in, they get excited knowing we're expanding onto the trail system.
Yeah. So speaking of businesses, let's kind of move on to manufacturing. So October is Manufacturing Month.
Yes.
What all does that entail for us?
Well, the first Friday of every year is National Manufacturing Month. In Nebraska, the first Friday of every October is National Manufacturing Day. Nebraska typically does make it Manufacturing Month. So we have a lot going on. We will be taking students and school, YCDC business leader, communities leaders into our manufacturers. We have 3 identified that we'll be going to. We'll be visiting Farmers Co-op down in McCool Junction. We'll be visiting Collins Aerospace, which are very, very excited. And then we are visiting Green Plains. Okay, so we are visiting Farmers Co-op down in McCool Junction. We are visiting Collins Aerospace, which, for those of you who don't know who they are, if you've flown on a flight, that flight has had a piece of equipment, safety equipment, that was made in York, Nebraska, which I think is very awesome since the 80s. And then we will be visiting Green Plains Energy, who is, they're an ethanol facility. They're the York Innovation Campus, which brings in people from worldwide to see what they're doing. And they're the pilot facility for a new biofuel that's being developed. So it's a pretty cool thing. And the last time we were on there, we did not have the pilot facility. So we're showing them the R&D, the energy sector, the agriculture sector, and aerospace. And it's manufacturing is big in New York County, and it helps stabilize our economy by keeping it diverse. And 2 of these are agribusiness as well. But we have diversity, and we want diversity.
Absolutely. And that event is awesome. We invite all of our board members. We invite area schools.
Yep, we invite area schools. I think we have 5 that got invitations. I don't know how many who have RSVP'd at this point. We meet up and we get on a bus. We get those kids from the different schools to hopefully interact some. And then later in the month, we will be taking a handful of manufacturers who want into the schools. So we're still working out on the details on that. The Nebraska Chamber is hosting the Manufacturing Summit, where they'll recognize manufacturers from across Nebraska. It will be a full-day event in Omaha. I think the La Vista, if I remember right. And we do have York County manufacturers who attend. I will be there that day. It's a pretty cool event. They recognize the coolest thing made in Nebraska. They just started that a couple years, 2-3 years ago, and we have not had a York County business win it yet, but someday.
Collins got pretty close last year.
They did. They made it to round 2 or round 3.
Yeah, I know they got close.
They got really close. It was fun to watch them go up in the tier. You know, it's kind of like you start with a 16, and then you work your way up.
Yeah, very cool.
Uh-huh.
So that's all in October, which is, once again, Manufacturing Month. But we also have a new event coming in October. Do you want to talk about that?
I am so excited. Depending on when you listen to this, you may have seen it. If you're a sponsor, you know about it. We've started talking about it in the community, but our official launch of it is on Friday, the 23rd. So tomorrow. It is called Spark. It's a business idea pitch contest. So on our website, under businesses, if you go look at the Spark tab, you'll be able to see what it's all about. But if you have an idea, you're a brand new startup, you're an entrepreneur, you're a small business that needs to move online or needs this equipment in order to add this to your process. We will be holding that October 25th. Before that, we will have workshop days, and Emily and myself and some of our partners are available to help you prepare like a business plan or practice your pitch. It's a year and a half, probably 5-10 minutes, not very long, but you'll have all the documents that you submit ahead of time. And you'll have the ability to win up to $3,000. This is our kickoff event for it. It's a kickoff year. It will hopefully grow and evolve over the years, but we're really excited. So if you have an idea and you haven't done it yet because you need a little bit of seed money, this is the time to look. And in the room, not only is the possibility of that seed money, but we're going to have the resources there. We're going to have the bankers, the insurance people, our gap financing. So if you need some financing in addition to whatever you have, the seed money, and a bank loan, we're going to be able to make connections there. So we're pretty excited about this. It's something I've had on my internal goal list for about 5 years, maybe 7. It's hard to remember sometimes. And Emily and I have pitched it around, and she came to me and she's like, I think we can do this. And we are doing it.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited. And when I say a pitch contest, it's not cards. So I'm having to train my mind to call it by our Spark contest. Because here in the Midwest, people like pitch. Card game.
Yep, and if any of you are still kind of confused about what that is, think very small-scale Shark Tank, the popular show on TV.
Yep.
That's how I've been explaining it. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be very educational and resourceful. So even if you guys don't necessarily need the money, but you need to practice pitching to bankers, you need to make those connections, this might still be a good opportunity for you.
Absolutely. And, I mean, whether you receive the award or not, it's a great opportunity. It really is. So, and it is, if you're a college student, if you're a high school student that's doing some on the side, Emily and I have worked with numerous of those young entrepreneurs. If you're looking for a retirement business or you have a retirement business, or let's say you're working out of your garage or your basement and it's time to get into a storefront, get into a shop space, whatever you're looking at, this is stuff this event will help you prepare for.
Absolutely. And Lisa might give me a look when I say this, but even if you don't think that you're quite ready to do the actual pitch contest and you want to come to that workshop, we'll let you.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're more than okay with working through your business plan, helping you guys prepare for success, even if you're not comfortable taking it to that pitch level.
And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about a tool that we have on our website that can help you prepare your business plan, whether it's for this or another time. It's our Size Up York County. It's a small business insights tool. So think all that research, all the data that Fortune 500 companies pay for, they have access to. YCDC has incorporated that into our budget, and it's on yorkdevco.com underneath the business tool. So go to the hamburger menu and drop it down, and you can find it. And it's a new website.
Yes,
that's
and
a whole
it's
new
beautiful.
topic.
It's
It
beautiful.
is.
Yeah. Oh gosh, now what direction do I want to go? Okay, so I guess we'll go back to kind of events and timelines. So day before yesterday, we had a bunch of York University incoming students in our building.
Yes.
Just welcoming them to the community. And that's one thing that we really take a lot of pride in is our relationship with the local university and colleges here in town.
Yes.
Coming in November is another event.
November is our career day, our York University Career Day. And that one it's incredible. I think this is our third or fourth year doing it. I don't remember. We have a prep day leading up to it as well to help students if they want help on their resumes. And then we have 2 or 3 hours after chapel where businesses, YCDC members who are looking for employees that are able to hire students, university students, they come in and set up their booths, and students are able to go through and, if not find a job, make the connection for when they need an internship a year down the road or 2 years down the road. So it's an opportunity for today, and it's an opportunity for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Connections are so vital. They really, really are. So that's...
Yeah. And there is a charge for non-members, but members are more than welcome to host a booth for free. And I would really encourage you to come taking this really seriously, because we have had people walk away with interns and applications before.
We have.
So this could lead to some really good employment in the area for you.
And we had one of our banks that intern turned into a full-time employee after graduation.
Yeah.
They went from intern to part-time to full-time.
Absolutely.
So it's pretty cool to see those relationships develop.
Yeah. So, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself. I know that you probably have some stuff going on in November too. But one thing that's going to be a little bit different is starting either end of November or in December, we're going to hear a new voice hosting the podcast for a little while.
We are. There will be a day, the end of November, when you cannot get through to Emily. because she will be out on maternity leave. Yes. So I hope you don't mind me saying that.
No, absolutely.
So remember, end of the year, reach out to me or Janine or someone in the office. Let's leave this poor lady alone and not call her cell phone.
Yeah.
But we have a young professional that's moved back to the community. Her name is Callie, and she works for the Nebraska Rural Radio Association. Our local station does mainly mornings in the country as a producer on Max Country, but she does a social media for all the radio stations, and I can't even begin to describe what all she does, but she has contracted with YCDC for videos and photos and different things over the last few years as she's worked her way through Wayne State. And this was a great opportunity for her to come home and get more experience in the broadcast world.
Yeah, and I'm extremely grateful for her because she's amazing, and she's going to do amazing, and I have no fear of leaving the podcast for a little while.
Nope.
That's not a fear of mine at all.
She did a podcast while she was in college at Wayne State, and she worked for the WAJ radio station up in Norfolk. She did some... she helped host the morning show as part of her internship. So, yeah, she's very comfortable with all of this equipment that Emily knows how to use, and I have no clue.
You get used to it. It's a learning curve, but you get used to it.
This is why we hire good people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so probably backtracking a little bit, but one thing I always really like to highlight is the different events that you're involved in, the different groups that you're involved in, because it's a vital part of being an economic developer.
Yes.
So what do you have going on? Can you emphasize the importance of some of these groups?
Yeah, at the local level, I am involved in Rotary. That has really helped strengthen initially 11 years ago, it really helped get me into the business community. And it helps me keep a pulse on what's going on through the presentations of nonprofits and then what we're doing for fundraisers and civic events. I'm help with them with the social media. I'm going to be honest. There's other people that do more, but I help when I can. And so that's local, and I sit on the York Chamber board, just like Madonna sits on the YCDC board. That's collaboration, and it's very important that we're all collaborating. We attend traveling offices throughout the county, and including attending the Henderson Chamber meeting. But you take it a little bit bigger, and I'm on the board of directors for the Nebraska Economic Developers Association. And that puts York County at a state level. I've spoke at the conferences a couple times. I did this last year in May. And that just, what are we doing here that's unique? We actually were talking about some funding models and sustainability and stuff like that, and how do you pivot when unexpected things come up, because that's a daily event in economic development. I sit on the Southeast Nebraska Development District Board, so that has been, I can't even tell you, because I know from going to board meetings, stuff that's coming, so I can make the connections. If we know what's going on in the communities, we can help facilitate that very easily. And it brings a York County voice. Besides the commissioner, Daniel Groats sits on the board as well, because every 15 counties has a commissioner that sits on the board. And then you have people like me, or bankers, or education, everybody else. So It just brings the economic development perspective, the housing perspective, the child care perspective from York County into our regional level. Then you want to go bigger, and the National Rural Economic Developers Association. So that annual conference is being held in Omaha, in November. I've been a little bit busy as conference chair. I've had some evening stuff. We've had the agenda pretty well solid since April. I have a kickoff meeting with one of our keynote speakers today, and I tell you, if you're in rural economic development, this is an event you have to check out. It is incredible. You can go to NREDA's website and look at the conference agenda. We have a lot coming out, and I'm very excited about. It's also an opportunity for those of my friends, my peer communities, or rural communities in Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, to check out a conference while it's close to home, even South Dakota, because we move this one around kind of east, central, and west. We rotate it, and this year it's in the Midwest. So when I had the opportunity to decide where to bring it, I brought it back to Nebraska. I wanted that to be one of the ones to look at, and it competed very, very well. I couldn't bring them to York. Can't really get an Uber drive from the airport out here, but we'll have over 200 economic developers attending. But it's a great opportunity to get connected with people like us from around the nation.
Absolutely.
So that one I'm very excited for. I'm excited to see who shows up because it's in the Midwest. It's in Omaha that typically doesn't go. The Nebraska Economic Developers Association is running a scholarship for the Department of Economic Development to get as many Nebraska economic developers there as we can. So we're pretty excited. We're going to show them what Nebraska's all about.
Yeah. Definitely worth the time.
Yeah. And that's being involved at the national level. I have spoke at this conference. I have spoke at other ones. And that's highlighting what people are, the stories that are coming out of here. It's kind of like this podcast. If we're not telling our stories, if we're not making the connections, people don't know what we're doing. So at NREDA, we have a site selector panel. They'll be doing a case study. And every NREDA conference, thanks to Rick Nelson with MPPD, we do a Nebraska dinner with the site selectors. So that's building those relationships. And those relationships I have been building over the last 11 years here for York County have resulted in projects.
Man.
They've resulted in people calling me straight out.
Yeah.
So we're building a brand, and it's recognized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At Cornerstone Bank, we are committed to providing you the best in banking products and service. With 46 locations throughout Nebraska, we are dedicated to serve you. Cornerstone Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Yeah, so the groups that you're a part of, obviously, if you're listening, there's a very important reason that we are present. We have a face in it. We have some skin in the game. But there's also some different trade shows and events that you get invited to as well. What all is coming up in that regard, and why is that so important?
Well, there's one close, the Midwest Bio Market in Omaha. It will be here. It's the first year we're hosting it, so I will be there. But that's all about the bioeconomy. And that is vital in Nebraska because we have the water, which you need for a bioeconomy. We have all the inputs. We've got the corn, we've got the sugar, we've got the beets, we've got the soybeans, we grow so much in Nebraska, it's pretty amazing. We even got cedar trees that some people like to use with the bioeconomy. I am hoping to learn a lot more at this conference. I can talk a lot more about metal fabrication and seed corn, and ethanol a little bit, which is it in the bio, but this is next level bio. And so that's the education that I get, but then the connections. And we will have York County businesses that are there as well. So it's important. That one's coming up in September. I don't know what I'll be doing first of the year for trade shows. I was invited by the state to attend Select USA back in June, and that was the first time I had been there. It was held close to DC, in National Harbor. It had 5,000 people, 1,000 economic developers. Everybody else was businesses looking to invest in the U.S. We had maybe 6 meetings, the Nebraska team, with Japanese companies. I attended not only the Japan networking reception, but the Taiwan networking reception. We had, between the Nebraska team, we covered a lot of receptions, and some of these projects are 2, 3, 10 years down the road. They're not, when I go to a trade show, I'm learning about the industry. I'm seeing the new innovation that's coming out, and I'm making those early connections. It doesn't always lead to a project next year.
Right.
Because sometimes they're still building their market to make sure it can work in the U.S. But we want to get them that relationship built so they know that when they come here, they can trust us.
Right.
Because that trust is absolutely crucial.
Absolutely.
But it's so fun when something that I see at a trade show then comes to York County. It's something very simple. Is the vending machine at McLean Beef.
Yeah.
I mean, I had seen that at Fabricated Metal, FabTech, or IMTS, one of the two metal shows that I had been at. It wasn't the exact machine, but so when Max and Jeanette were talking about it, I'm like, I know what you're talking about, and I want one of those.
Yeah.
And this will work incredibly well at our interstate district because of the influx of visitors and travelers that go through there.
Absolutely.
And they started with one, they've ordered the second one, but it's such a simple thing. But I knew what it was. Now, when we get into the plasma machines and the CNCs, and Emily's eyes are glazing over, it's like you have knowledge a mile wide, but only a couple inches deep when you're an economic developer sometimes, because you can't know all the industries at the depth that an expert in that industry knows. So it's nice to have that base knowledge by attending these shows.
Yep. And I'm just going to break away here for a minute, but you say that, but there's some stuff that I think you know more than just a couple inches deep, Oh,
yeah.
Especially when it comes to that metal fabrication piece. That and ag is where I really notice you excelling, and you really know what you're talking about. So it's cool that you get to go to these events, you get to stay updated. And then when these trade shows, these events come to fruition, you can be like, I know you, I know what you're talking about, I know exactly where to place you, and I know what you need.
Yes. I mean, if you would have told me 20 years ago, I would know utilities. Yeah, right. But now economic developers need to know those utilities of what those businesses need. So it helps even identifying the targets that were here, because I was going to the trade shows and hearing about the increased energy needs and the increased wastewater needs that none of us were believing when the companies were talking about them 2 years ago, when they slapped us in the face I think it was in October. So a year ago, we're like, wow. And I'm not saying we're out of stuff. We just have to continue building.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just fun watching how the industries change.
Yeah.
But yeah, having that knowledge, it's critical. And the companies and the site selectors, whether they're working with a site selector or a contractor or they're working on their own, they can tell if you're just full of it.
Yeah, right.
And I have no problem saying, I know this part, but I don't know this part. Please explain.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you're a good fit for the community and we're a good fit for them. And if I say we can serve them, whether it's with workforce or on the infrastructure side, or it's the quality of life they want their employees to have, I want to make sure I'm not telling them something we can't do, because that's the trust.
Yeah, definitely is. Definitely. So I know, even in the last year, but we can extend further than that if you would like to, there's been a lot of really neat initiatives, a lot of really neat small businesses and not so small businesses that have been interested in York and have located, at least within York County.
Yeah.
Can you dive into a couple of the different things that we're doing in that arena?
Yeah, we have some R&D bubbling up. So R&D, sometimes in the economic development world, is known as rip off and duplicate. But it's actually research and development. So we're seeing that research and development duplicate. We have in Waco, we have a soybean cheese processor doing some R&D. So that's been pretty cool. That was cool to hear their vision and where they're at now, how they decided on the Midwest, and then why York County got the job, why not the job, but why YCDC got the call. And we found them the location. We worked with the building owner, and we got them here. Our goal is hopefully they stay here. So that relationship, when I mentioned earlier relationships, that relationship helped bring in NextAt. And NextAt is a German manufacturing all-in-one agriculture machine. I don't know how else to describe it. It's about the size of a semi until you start putting pieces on it. And then it's massive. Mm-hmm. It can basically, it's a combine, it's a seeder, it's a fertilizer, it's, depending on what parts are on it, it's all over. There's 3 in Americas. There's 2 of them in York County and 1 up in Canada. And we've had it on our Facebook. There's a story about it on there, on our website with a photo. But they're building their market. York County is the first U.S. service facility. Actually, the first America service facility. And they're starting to hire locally. So that's pretty cool. We've had a lot of people in from German, and we've got the manager that's here. He's actually lives out of state, but he spends majority of his time here right now. And my goal is, as they build out their U.S. market, they know that we have 200 acres to the north of where they're at right now. I want their facility long term. And they're very, very happy with us. I mean, I've had no complaints. Mm-hmm. They're responsive. They let us know what they need. Mm-hmm. And this is part of something when it comes to projects, whether it's a recruitment or it's an expansion, is you do the news article, you do the announcement, and there's so much work after the fact.
Right.
So, I mean, Emily or myself are talking to them a couple times a month.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's another one. That was really kind of fun. It's got a lot of more attention than our soybean facility because people see this massive piece of equipment driving down the road. And it's so big that it took a crane to get it off of the trailer. That's how big of a piece of equipment we're talking. It's pretty awesome.
It's very cool.
Let me see, what else?
Well, I guess in the childcare arena, there's a lot going on.
Yes, we just closed a loan this week. Not us. It was with the Southeast Nebraska Development District. But we were with Inc. It was with Send Inc. It was the nonprofit arm of the Development District. And I worked with the new buyers and actually sat in on a board meeting advocating for them because that's what I do. I advocate.
Well, and just kind of piggybacking off of that, one thing that we do, I think very well, I hope other people agree, is we may not always be the person that can get you the answers, that can get you the funds, but we can put you into contact, and we will always advocate for you if we think that you're a solid business. So even if you come to us and you're like, I know you don't have funding, I don't know what to do, that's okay. We can still probably help.
And a lot of times, I wanted to take a half hour to sit down and ask you questions, and let's throw things at the wall. Let me figure out who is the right person to send you to for that financing source. You may not need anybody besides yourself in the bank, but let's make sure you're ready before you go into the bank.
Yeah.
And that size up tool, we do have business and financial, plans. We have tons of templates, but you can find templates online anymore. But even if you're going that route, still sit down and talk to us so we can connect you with the right person. You need a business valuation? Okay, I'm going to call Odie with an MBDC. You need you need $10,000. We're probably going to pull in Center for Rural Affairs. I mean, we've mentioned SEND, but there's so many others that we pull to the table. And a lot of times this spitballing session, this me gathering information, you giving me your dreams, and we breaking it down is, okay, who do we need at the table?
Absolutely. And we have so many fantastic partners. Why wouldn't we utilize them?
I send people to both MBDC and Center for Rural Affairs for business plans all the time. I'll take you so far, and even on the financials, I'll take you so far. But I know there's a guy in Grand Island that really geeks out on the financials. So why not let him?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd rather geek out on the marketing with you.
Yeah. And, I mean, even going a step closer to home, we have a ton of local partners that we do lean on pretty heavily as well.
We actually just walked over to Madonna this morning for one of our child cares that needs help with the SAM registration process. So Madonna Mogul is our chamber director, York chamber director. Henderson is between right now. So if you're looking for a chamber job, there's one in Henderson, Nebraska.
Yes.
But our partners, we could not do what we do without them. Whether it's our local partners, there's bankers I'll call, and there's attorneys I call, and there's sometimes even an insurance, if I know they're working with Trent Lindenberry with Jones Insurance, Trent, okay, make sure you tell them this. Or, I can give him or Kelly Cadavy, or there's a dozen that I can make a call and say, am I right in thinking they need to look at this?
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone wants to see everyone
successful.
Flourish. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So everyone is very community-minded here for the most part, which is amazing. We're incredibly lucky.
We are, and we have some great financial planners as well. A lot of our startups lately, have been younger, which I love to see. But I've been encouraging them. Let's think financial personal goals as well, because if you're new business, you got to pay yourself from year one, and even if you're taking that pay and putting it into a savings account. You've got to do that, because if we have another pandemic, you got to show you were earning money on it. But you got big picture. If you're not able to achieve your personal goals, you're not going to stay in business.
Yeah, you're not ready. Yeah.
So I've had probably half a dozen in the last 2 months. I'm like, you need to reach out to one of our financial advisors.
Right.
We need to think about A, B, C, and D.
Yep.
Your life insurance, let's make sure you have enough to cover if something happens to one of you to hire somebody to run this business, or to cover the income. That's a little bit more holistic than I have always done on the business planning side, but I would rather somebody realize they're not ready yet,
right,
than to jump in and take on that debt and then have massive financial issues. I don't want somebody. I'd rather get to a no as we're going through the process than get to a yes and it blow up in their face year one.
Absolutely. And one thing that I know has always kind of been a dream and a goal for you, and you've infected me with it, so thank you very much.
Anytime.
But we would love to set up some sort of mentor program.
We would. We've looked at going through SCORE. I need 5 volunteers from the community that are willing to be mentors, and we can get the first level going and go through training. I have a couple, but I haven't had 5 yet. And I'm going to be honest, it's kind of fallen down because we've been so busy on the housing and the businesses and childcare businesses too. But oftentimes we separate it in our minds. We've just been incredibly busy, so that I was working on the first part of the year, and then we did have some successions, and it's just kind of fallen to the side. So that's kind of more of a long range goal of mine. I want to make sure we establish, but I have connected some of our businesses with mentor programs more at a state or national level.
Yep. And let's say somebody's listening to this and they're like, I would be a mentor. I
Reach out.
Love the idea. Well, what all would that even entail?
It depends on what it is. Sometimes it's just they need somebody with retail experience to come in and make recommendations on how to rearrange their floor. Sometimes it's I need somebody to call when I have a question, and sometimes it's accounting. I mean the SCORE program that I mentioned, it's a mix of all of it. Some of it, it's heavy. They'll check in on you once a month for a little bit. Sometimes it's going in and taking a look at the financials and saying, these are some things I would suggest, or say, think about this on your marketing. So SCORE is an organization of it's heavy on the retired professionals, but they're not all retired. We've got some younger ones that have joined, and it's people that are passionate about small business growth. They're passionate about making sure our entrepreneurs are ready.
Right.
And it's kind of sharing the load because YCDC, Emily and I are here to sit down with anybody. Janine would take questions on QuickBooks, but sometimes you need a little bit more. Yeah, so it's, we've talked about mentors at the business level. We've actually had the conversations about mentors for incoming families, incoming professionals. We always encourage anyone young to join the York Young Professionals through the York Chamber. We encourage people to get involved in our civic organizations. We share community calendars. But sometimes it's nice to get a phone call and say, hey, do you want to go to the Friday night game with me? Or, hey, I know your daughter's in dance and mine is too. Do you want to drive to this recital together?
Yeah.
It's sometimes that little stuff that some of us do naturally in rural America. It's if we can organize it, it can be a little bit more impactful, and maybe we cut down on loss of talent.
Yeah.
The brain drain.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things you'll hear at a talent event or whatever is you need to plug them into your community and make them feel like they are a part of it to get them to stay.
Yeah. And, I was a speaker last month at Stand Up Rural America, and they had a organization that they had 3 communities on the panel that talked about what they were doing to actively recruit talent, but what they were doing for incentives as part of that. And one of them was delivering farm fresh eggs once a month for a year. And what it was doing, it kept the economic development staff very busy because it was the staff that was doing it. But what it was doing is it provided a touch point. So when the person didn't even know it, that they were being checked on, but they were naturally saying, "Hey, I can't find this," or "Hey, I need a referral to this. Do you need anything?" So they were able to get them more and more connected. So that goes back to conferences.
Yeah.
And when I go somewhere, I always bring something home.
Yeah.
And sometimes I overwhelm my staff, don't I, Emily?
In a good way. In a good way.
She might have got a lot of texts from me that week.
But it's neat. I mean, it's neat I think we can learn so much from our neighbors. So why wouldn't we absorb that and see what we can rip off and duplicate?
Absolutely.
Yes. So I think we're getting it pretty close on time. So I guess just to wrap things up, if somebody is listening to this podcast and they want YCDC's help with something, how would they get into contact?
Call us, email us, just reach out. You know, Emily, Anthony, Janine have full access to my calendar. Emily's working with small businesses as well. So just because I'm not in the office doesn't mean somebody can't make an appointment.
Absolutely.
Or meet with Emily. Yeah. If you have a project coming up, the earlier we know about it, the better. Because if I have to find you loan funds in 2 weeks, it's going to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Especially if you haven't started with your business plan yet. So reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out. If you're looking for employees, reach out as well. We do we call them for key employees because, you know, we have a lot of employees in this county, so we can't do it for every level. But if you're recruiting what you consider a key employee and they're from outside of the area, you sell them on the position and your company culture, and let us sell them on the community. We'll give them a tour. We'll take them out to the smaller communities. We'll talk about all the schools if they have kids or plan on having kids. We've taken them into schools before. We've introduced them to the hospital systems because we have two. So we talk about all of that, but we show them the fun stuff. We show them the places to shop. We show them the parks, you know, whether they have kids or not. You know, they want to know what the park system is like. They want to know what the culture is like. We can talk about the Creative Arts District, which that will be, you need to get somebody on the podcast for that.
I know it.
But we're here to, just reach out. Look at you can find quite a bit of information on our website. Like I said, the Size Up tool is important, but the sooner we know about your project, whether you're a business, you're somebody that wants to move here, find a job, that would be Emily. You're looking for an employee. Again, Emily, usually.
I would love to help. I would love to help.
She's even proofed a couple resumes over her time here.
I sure have, yes. Yes. And I can do mock interviews. I can help with cover letters. I can do all that stuff.
Yeah, and she loves doing that stuff. I do. I do. You're correct. Yes, I do. But I don't want her doing it 40 hours a week either.
Yeah, fair enough. But it is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. And actually, I kind of enjoy every once in a while breaking out of my routine and doing that stuff too.
Yeah.
But we're here. We are here to help you however you need help. We're here to advocate for York County. We are here to do whatever we can to make our community a better place to live and work and operate your business and raise your family or retire in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's what we're going to wrap up on.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Of
As
course.
always, loved having you. Always learn something, even though I've worked here for a while now. But until next time.
Sounds good. Until next time.
In closing, we would like to once again take the time to thank our members, the people that help us drive change. We would like to thank York State Bank, Henderson State Bank, York General, Meade Lumber Company Incorporated, and York News Times. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. Catch you next time.